A lot of times in the dynamics of siblings, you can get stuck in the role that you came into the family as. For example, I was born into my family as the oldest. So that responsibility and everything that comes with being the oldest followed me into adulthood until I let it be known to my sibling line that I want to be seen and held as just their sister. Sure, I'm going to big sis you every now and then because I've just lived a little bit longer. So with that comes a little bit of experience sometimes not. But in my case, it was okay to let them know, hey, I don't want the responsibility of big sis right now. I need the space and capacity to be imperfect, to be held, to be loved, to be nurtured, to be cared for without judgment, all within a soft space. I needed to be vulnerable. I needed to be held in vulnerability.
Here we grow again, our hearts on the mend. What I want is what I want is what I want. Soft space.
Welcome to Softspaces podcast, where I share a little bit of me to connect with a little bit of you and create a community of wholeness together where our unmuted voices help us to thrive, be strengthened, and live an amazing life. My name is Yolanda Lewis, and I am your host. Today we're talking about kind of a fun topic. It is called Sisterhood UnMuted, and it's all about developing growth and connection within a sibling relationship and creating soft spaces so you both can grow as adults. A lot of times in the dynamics of siblings, you can get stuck in the role that you came into the family as. For example, I was born into my family as the oldest. So that responsibility and everything that comes with being the oldest followed me into adulthood until I let it be known to my sibling line that it's not that I don't want to be the oldest, but I want to be seen and held as just their sister. Sure, I'm going to big sis you every now and then because I've just lived a little bit longer. So with that comes a little bit of experience sometimes not. But in my case, it came with a little bit of experience. So it was okay to let them know, hey, I don't want the responsibility of big sis right now. I need the space and capacity to be imperfect, to be held, to be loved, to be nurtured, to be cared for without judgment, all within a soft space. I needed to be vulnerable. I needed to be held in vulnerability. So the only person that would really, truly be good is one to have this conversation with is one of my siblings. And that we did. We had a great conversation. I'm going to share it with you and you will enjoy it. Please chime in any comments, share it with a friend who is also a sibling, and I'll see you at the bottom of the episode.
What's up, Londa? How you doing, girl? That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be enough.
But look, we're here to talk about authenticity and how you create soft spaces in every area of your life. And I thought it would be so cool to share with you a little bit of our relationship because we had to learn how to create soft spaces in our sisterhood as adults.
Yes, we did. We truly did. And that wasn't easy to create, I will say.
What you trying to say?
A little bit, okay, just a little bit. But, as I was coming into me, I had to learn about others and, what their boundaries were and what their, what their thing was. And being able to accept that and know that in that space, it's nothing against me. They're just trying to kind of come to and figure out themselves. And if I care about the relationship, then I want to make it a point to overstand and understand what that looks like for them and to be able to still show up for them in that space. So most definitely, growing up in a siblingship, you get to know your siblings, who they are. It's my big brother, my big sister, whatever. But when you become an adult, it's completely different. You have to relearn who that person is as your sibling. And for a long time, I kept you in a certain space. So when I started to actually learn who you were, it was like, okay, this was uncomfortable for me because this made me and forced me to kind of put all of my, preconceived notions about you, who you were as my big sister coming up, and to who you are currently as a grown woman, and loving that.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute because I want to make sure people understand the dynamics around how we got there.
Mm-hmm.
And it all started, I'm going to say, we have another sister, just so y'all know. We have another sister, baby girl. And it was her birthday. It was a milestone birthday. We're all at our cousin's house, getting ready to go out and show her a good time. And a moment happened where I got upset, and I don't even remember what it was for, but I got upset. And at that time, in that space, I was learning how to process my emotion. So for me, I have, even though we grew up in the same house,
Right.
I had my own set of traumas that I had to work through. I had my own set of experiences of life that I had to figure out. And I'm coming to the table to this event, trying to work through all those things in that moment. And she didn't know that. And I didn't know how to communicate any of that at that time. And so this moment happens where I get upset, and Peaches, like her loving, beautiful self, goes to give me a hug. And my response to that was no. That was my first time practicing boundaries.
Let me clarify, y'all. It was not just a no, okay? It was more like, get over here, like a Mortal Kombat, like, get out of here, you know what I'm saying?
But okay, maybe I did. But I had to do that in that moment for my own protection. So I didn't, her language of help and her language of love in that moment had to do with, let me hug it out of you. Let me hug it away for you. Let me take it on. And my language of processing emotion was non existent and wanted to be isolated. I didn't want to be touched. I didn't want to be, because that was a trigger for me from my experience. So I didn't want any of that. And that was what we got into. Wow, okay, she needs space. And I said that. I said, part of the Mortal Kombat team
After the Mortal Kombat event.
was me saying, I don't want a hug, but I do need some space. I'll be right back. And I went to my car and I cried. And I cried and I cried and I cried until I got myself together and I came back and then I explained. And that's when we got into, I think that was our first experience with learning boundaries because from there, whenever I was feeling away and you could feel me, right, that I was feeling away with whatever, years later, we implemented a can I, hug you, or do you need a hug right now?
Right, right. And I will say in that moment, because all of those feelings were kind of, flying around and she was feeling her way, I was feeling her way because I felt offended. I felt rejected. And I'm like, wow, I'm trying to show my sister some love and she doesn't want it. And I had to grow to a point to not see things from that lens. So it wasn't just about how I felt, but it was also about how she felt. And that was a point where, that was one of the points where I had to realize in relationship to step away from just your own feelings. And your feelings are extremely important, so I don't want you to get that misunderstood. However, in relationship, you have to always and constantly consider the other person's feelings, whether partnership, relationship, sistership, friendship, lovership, in any ship, you need to consider the other's feelings. And I had not considered her feelings. One, because she was my big sister, so it was like she can do no wrong. She doesn't have feelings, she's invincible. This is superwoman, sister, mother, however you want to put it. And when she did finally come to me, I didn't even realize until years later that was her vulnerability. She was giving me her vulnerability when she was able to gather herself and come back and say, "Hey, I really needed a moment," you know? Not saying like I said, she wasn't rejecting me. That was my perspective. She needed a moment for herself. And not until years later, after that moment, I overstood, like, wow, okay, she was coming to me with her heart. And I didn't reject her, of course. However, that was something I had to deal with in myself, to be open to my sister's feelings, not as my big sister, but as a person, as a young woman who was feeling a challenge and needed to work through that challenge the way she needed to work through, which was a boundary, I would say. And I had to consider her boundaries at that point.
I think that's so important because that vulnerable space was not, it's not about it not being easy, because it's never easy to be vulnerable, when you're first getting started with your journey of healing and all of that. But when we talk about creating a safe space, some of that safe space was me being able to be myself, imperfect, totally flawed, not the next in command, none of those titles, none of those things, just me. And with the people, my siblings, that I absolutely adore and trust. And so even when I didn't know how to always figure it out, I trusted that you would hold my heart. So I could say, look, I'll explain it later, but I need to go and cry, or I need a second. And that helped our relationship in terms of communication. I think there's going to be people who want to go deeper into the conversation. If that's you, definitely comment below somewhere. Just comment wherever you're at watching this. Yes. And put in there the angle of the conversation that resonates most with you, that you want to hear more about, how to create that soft space between you and your sibling. In the meantime, what's one word of advice that you would leave to siblings who need to create soft spaces within their sibling line?
The one thing that I would say to all siblings out there is to always remember to lead with love.
That's so you. I love it. And it's so true. It's so true. It gets rid of so much ego and the stuff that gets in the way of love.
Well, I hope in that clip you got to see and experience and connect to being whatever role you are in your sibling line. I hope that you also were able to hear the needs that were expressed between the two of us, and all the ways that I failed, and all the ways that we fail as people in those situations. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with me and my sister Peaches. She is going to come back for sure, and she just keeps the whole sibling line lively, and it's just great. So I hope you enjoyed it too. As we do at the end of every single episode, we breathe. That's what we do at the end of every single episode. In this breath, because we're creating a soft space when we get into this breathing, and I want you to always feel that wherever you are, you can create a soft space, the soft space that you need to process, to feel, and to grow. And of course, to connect. Right now in our soft space, I'm inviting you into this soft space. As I invite you into this soft space, I want you to, don't close your eyes if you're driving, please. Please don't close your eyes if you're driving, but think. I want you to connect with thought. And as you're connecting with thought, I want you to tap into how your body is feeling right in this moment. After this episode, having maybe thought about your siblings, having maybe thought of your upbringing, it could have triggered some things. And triggers aren't always bad. It could have triggered some good things too. It could have triggered all the ways that you stood up for your siblings. It could have triggered all the ways that you held down your sibling line. It could have triggered all the ways that you kept your siblings safe. But it might have also triggered all the ways that you were not safe. It might have triggered all the ways that you feel like you want to explode and be yourself and not have to be this responsible older sibling or the silly young sibling. You want to be taken seriously. You want your words to have value. You don't want to be judged. So as you are coming into this soft space, I want you to bring to the forefront of your mind, what is it that your body is saying to you that it wants to release? It could be in the sense of releasing a tear. It could be in the sense of releasing laughter. Maybe you have a sibling that's no longer with us. It could be a sense of you wanting to just be quiet and just get into yourself. Whatever it is, tap into it right now. Tap into the thought of it. Tap into what the emotions that are running through your body right as we speak are trying to communicate to your soul. And in that, we're going to take a deep breath in. One more breath after that, so your lungs are at its fullest capacity, and then we will release. And sometimes in that release, you may feel like you need to make a sound. That's okay. Let that sound come out. It's been waiting to come out. And when we're breathing, you do it as many times as you need to. Here in the soft space, we're only going to do 2 breaths together. But after this episode ends, if you feel you need to do more, do it. Do it. Keep your soft space nurtured and growing and expanding in the way that you need it to so you can feel, connect, and grow. So, please join me in taking a deep breath in through your nose. One more breath. And exhale. Another deep breath in. Fill your lungs. One more breath. And exhale. As you're breathing, I want you to think about the fact that you deserve a breath. That breath might represent a break from all you've been carrying. Let it be the break that you deserve. Let it be the space that you've been wanting and waiting for, that you've been desiring, that you've been calling to you. Let it be that refreshing space. And as you breathe or finish that breath or continue to take those breaths, I want you to know that you're not alone. We're here with you, holding space. The community of UnMuted people are here with you in this soft space, breathing, taking time, holding you, holding each other. And it's okay. I want to thank you for being a part of this episode. I'd love to hear your feedback, but in the meantime, please stay tuned, stay blessed. See you next time.